When a woman buys a wig, she doesn't buy something that's passable as her real hair for the age of 87. She buys a giant bouffant or something.
Pantalones gratis.
Con Marconi Bologna.
Esto es Los Pantalones Libres de Podcast.
The Pants Free Podcast. Pantaloni Libero.
Greetings and welcome to the Pants Free Podcast. My name is Marconi, along with my podcast compadre, Nik Miles.
I'm actually pants-free right now. I was just getting dressed out of the shower and waiting for the podcast to begin, and clearly with no pants on.
In the shower today, because I do most of my thinking in the shower, what were your thoughts?
My genius ideas come in the shower.
They always come in the shower where you can't get to any device to write them down.
Oh, yeah, I have a shower writing down kit.
Yeah, some people, and I think this might be true, some people like to keep their ideas in their heads, and they don't like to write them all down. Louis C.K., you know, he does that show Louis.
Funnily enough, he's appearing across the road from the hotel I'm staying in.
He is hilarious. You should go there right now. You should just stand outside and wait for him to show up. No, Louis is great, and he does all kinds of HBO specials, and one of the things I think is great about him, he doesn't write any of his jokes down. He does record his shows on his phone, and then he plays them back and decides how he's going to change the joke the next time, but he doesn't take note. He keeps it all in his head. He thinks, because you know, like when you put a note down, the reason people take notes is to get it out of their head and onto a piece of paper so they don't forget it. Right. And he feels that his memory will be stronger if he forces himself to remember these things.
Yes, and you know, something that he's probably got a lot of points there. I used to live with, when I lived in England, I lived with a woman who was my landlady, whose husband was a memory specialist. And he said, actually, your memory is a muscle. If you don't use it, then it stops working. Yeah,
but you know, like, seriously, you're right with the exercising of your mind. A lot of people lose their minds. Maybe it's from taking too many damn notes.
That's pretty funny.
Well, I'm glad I could finally amuse you, sir. Every once in a while. Hey, we've got Pants Free Podcast merch. That's right, shirts, mugs, phone cases, and so much more. Check out the merch link on pantsfreepod.com. Nik, by the way, you're in Los Angeles now? What are you doing there?
I'm actually in San Diego today.
Oh, okay. So you were in Los Angeles, now in San Diego. Where won't you go? Where have they said, hey, Nik, you want to go here? And you said, absolutely not.
Yeah, Gresham.
That is a joke. If you're in Portland, it is a suburb that people make fun of.
It's like the Compton of Portland.
It's exactly like the Compton of Portland. There are so many rap idols that come out straight out of Gresham.
Yeah, dude.
They don't even they have to wear grills there because they have no teeth. They have no choice but to put a mouth guard in and put bedazzlery on it.
They use car parts to put where their teeth used to be.
Nik, you know, I had a crazy experience. You know, my tire exploded a couple of weeks ago, and I changed my first tire, and we talked about that on the last podcast. I don't know why, but like waiting to get your car done, it's kind of an awkward situation because you're looking at these old car magazines they have laid out for you, maybe eating some popcorn, staring at, old guys pulling their pants up and grunting while they wait for their car to be repaired. And I saw an Asian guy with now, I don't see a lot of toupees nowadays. I don't know about you, but I can spot one from a mile away. It's always been my gift. You know, if you're going to have a gift, that might as well be it. But there's an Asian guy there, and I took a picture and put it on my Instagram. He clearly was wearing a wig, and he would get up, and every once in a while he would twerk like there was something wrong with his underwear.
You know, it's easier to spot women in wigs than it is men in wigs.
It is?
That's because women's wigs are clearly not their real hair. You know, women have actually a bigger problem with baldness than men, or if not equal, it may be bigger. And when a woman buys a wig, she doesn't buy something that's passable as her real hair for the age of 87. She buys a giant bouffant or something where it's clearly not her own hair. I mean, you know, clearly.
I don't know why we haven't gone to, like, seriously, like your own hair it's kind of overrated, and it's a pain in the ass. Like when you get up, like the one thing that takes time is to put effort into your damn hair, you know, especially mine. I have like a bouffant, whatever the hell this is. Anyway, you know, and I'm glad to have hair as a man. I mean, a lot of guys don't have it, but why don't we just go to the wig?
It's funny you should mention the hair situation, because I identified somebody as having hair loss the other day, a joint friend of ours, and they got very upset about it when I said, you know, it doesn't look bad necessarily, but he is losing his hair.
But he always has shaved it down so close to his head that it doesn't really matter.
No, but you can clearly see he's losing it. I mean, my hair is not what it used to be. I know that your hair is not what it used to be when you were 16. And it happens. It's just part of life. You know, we're not balding. We don't have a comb over. But at the same time, it gets thinner in areas. And the quality of my hair definitely has changed. Although my dad's 71 years old, and he still has a full head of hair. But it's much thinner and wispier than it used to be. And I identified it to and I thought he was going to cry.
It's weird how vanity takes over. You know, it really does, because you think, I want to be a young, virile person, and this is like a sign of that going away in some way. But who cares? It's just hair, you know? Like, but, seriously, why can't we do more wig things? Like, like women paint their faces. Why can't men wear wigs?
I agree with you. In fact, I'm very angry with myself because I was driving recently. I was in San Diego. There is a wig shop here that's going out of business. And it says right in the window, all wigs must go. And I was like, I have to take a picture of this and send it to you. But we were driving. I wasn't driving, and we were going fast, and we didn't have time to stop. But all wigs must go.
That is awesome. It's a sad state of affairs that wigs are going out of business. Why? Because the one thing I know is weaves are more popular than ever. Like, women are still getting hair extensions and stuff like that. And why is it that these apparatuses and things like that still cost $1 trillion to get done? Like, why haven't we figured it out? And why can't they regrow hair? Why isn't that a thing yet?
Well, they can regrow hair. I mean, there's lots of processes to it, but it's not cheap. And then they do the plugs, you know, where they take the hair off your ass and they plug it in your head.
That's always nothing sexier than that.
Yeah, I'm wondering how that would look.
The fact that you're imagining it makes me sorry that I said it. Nick, I did want to mention that, you know, I have this YouTube channel, and I can't, for whatever reason, I think the world needs to see more of me, which I don't know why.
I've been watching some of your stuff. I think, you know, it's good.
I'm getting at least a little better, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think, you know, you'll learn after a while when you look back at it. The best way to learn from your mistakes is watch what other people do. When you do something that's similar, when you do something similar, watch what they do and what looks good with them, and then try it. Because a lot of people look at their own stuff and they can't see the mistakes.
Yep.
You have to look at other people's stuff.
Well, like the YouTube thing, they have these memes. The latest one is Draw My Life. And so I did that, and it's kind of a serious one. And on my YouTube channel, I'm kind of, you know, I play characters and I goof around, and you don't really get to know me. I mean, if you listen to the podcast, I'm really not like the person you watch on those videos. So it's kind of a character, sketchy type of thing. And so this one was like more real, but I did want to, like, and if you listen to the podcast or watch my videos, both, this is like the behind the scenes kind of thing. I hired a stunt artist to draw for me.
You know what's really funny? I think it's a brilliant video, by the way. It's great. But I could tell that it's long. Mm-hmm. It's probably the longest video you've ever done. It's like 8 minutes or something.
Yeah, most of them are about 6 to 8 minutes.
Right. So it's clearly a long video.
It would have been 20 minutes long, but I left out the part where I killed a guy. That horrific marriage you and I had in the early 80s.
Right.
And then that time we buried a guy in Eastern Oregon.
And that's understandable, but it's kind of interesting that I think it starts out really great, but then clearly the artist's arm gets tired towards the end.
Well, no, you know what happened? Like
the artist is drawing great, like very detailed pictures that are very specific, and after a while it's just like head, legs, thanks.
Well, some of it, like you got to understand, like the way this was happening, because it's on my phone, and my phone was full of pictures. And a couple of times I went back and forth, and for whatever reason, the file wouldn't work. It wouldn't go. And I had drawn that same scene like 17 times or something. you look at the tablet of list of stuff I had on there, I was like, I'm never going to finish this. And I still have to put music behind it and all this stuff. I was like, just kill me now. So, yeah. It's the thing is like, it's a process of like, I start shooting on one day usually and then edit the next day. And then some days I shoot and edit the same day. And it's crazy. And then YouTube, this is what I don't understand. And you upload videos to YouTube. 4 hours for an 8-minute video to upload to YouTube? What the f***?
These are things that real people don't need to know. This is behind the scenes. This is who's behind the curtain stuff.
I like to see behind your curtain. What? Hey!
My meat curtain.
Nik, by the way, every week we do these crazy podcasts, and one guy who's always behind us is Dave from Dave's Killer Bread. And, he loves it when we tweet about his bread. And the one thing I like, because you travel a lot, and a lot of people are posting pictures of them packing an extra loaf of Dave's Killer Bread within their luggage.
Well, it depends where you're going. I mean, clearly in some places you have to do that.
Yeah.
But I like to call it Dave's wheat curtain instead of his meat curtain.
You are a marketing genius.
The curtain of wheat.
Tell us more about this wheat curtain.
You have to taste it.
Oh, I guess.
It's delicious.
And it's delicious. Well, if you're...
It's not too sweet. It's not too salty. You put a little butter on it, it couldn't be any better.
Get behind Dave's wheat curtain today if you can. Dave's Killer Bread. Just say no to bread on drugs. To find if Dave's Killer Bread is near you, go to daveskillerbread.com and find your wheat curtain.
Here's the latest news from around the world, too, right in your own backyard.
Nik, the world, it seems like every week the world almost turns in on itself, but it seems to survive and continue on for us to do a week in pants-free news.
Yes. Pants-free news today. The post office is dropping Saturday service.
No, they're dropping plans to cut Saturday service.
Wait,
I thought I was
finished.
the dyslexic one.
I haven't finished.
Oh.
So in Pants-free news today, the post office are dropping Saturday service. Not really. They changed their mind.
See, that's how you got me with the hook.
Everyone's like, no, they're not. They're not. The news says
See,
that
what is this, April Fool's? I was like, whoa, no, what?
So really, the post office is in trouble. There's no doubt about that. The UPS and FedEx have stolen a lot of their package services. Letters tend to be little important now. Most people don't send mail anymore unless it's, let's say, birthday gifts or money or that sort of thing.
Or a real doll through the internet, things like that.
A lot of it's through the internet. And actually in England, it's helped the post office a lot, so they control the internet, which has been really helpful to them. But ultimately, the post office is not making the money it used to, yet you still need your daily deliveries, and so they had this idea of dropping Saturday service. We were expecting it to happen. It was going to save them X amount of millions of dollars. But really, they've decided that cutting that service is just going to hurt.
And I'm really glad because I was going to miss that extra day of accidentally getting my neighbor's junk mail and people who lived in my apartment before me. What else do you have in your news?
It's the news.
This is kind of sad, but it's also funny too. Buck Wild has been canceled.
Wait, what was that? What's Buck Wild?
Well, I actually didn't know what it was until one of the stars of the show passed away.
Yeah, this guy, Shane Gandy, I think his name is. And these guys, I guess, here's what I understand from what I've heard about the show. It's like Jackass meets Jersey Shore.
Yeah, it's sort of the hillbilly Jersey Shore.
Okay, all right. And they don't necessarily do stunts. They're not professionals, so they just do dumb things.
Yeah, and they do a lot of stuff they have fun with. Like they do a lot of Jackass type things, water slides and all these sort of things built in the backyard and stupid tractor jumps and that type of stuff. But I actually watched the show and I actually thought it was really good.
Okay, so the show
Kane
doesn't suck, you think, as far as you've seen?
No, it was really fun, but he definitely was an important part of the truck. I'm actually more troubled by his death than anything else.
Yeah, so he was like mudding or something like that. They were like 4-by-ing in the mud, and like their exhaust pipe got stuck in the mud and some kind of gas inhalation or something.
I'm not sure what the coroner's report exactly says, but him and 2 other people, so it was 3 in total, were found dead inside their truck.
Who would even think that you could get gas inhalation or what do they call it? Carbon monoxide poisoning from from having your exhaust plugged.
And, I mean, that's what they're saying. The official is poisoning by carbon monoxide. And, the show's been fairly doomed. I mean, several cast members have been arrested for DUI and drug possession.
That never stopped the NFL.
No, that's true. It didn't. Lindsay Lohan visits David Letterman.
Yeah, did you watch this video?
I did, and I enjoyed it very much because I think Dave is on full form. He's a little bit cheeky. He really he went for a little bit, and she rattled back at him.
I did like it because, the one thing about Letterman is he gives you what you want. He doesn't give you the homogenized, glad-handed interview. He gives you what you feel. Most of these shows would have her on and not talk about all that crap,
He asked the questions that we would all want to know.
She's probably not completely off drugs. She said that she, takes Adderall or something like that. But
that's ADD med, yeah.
With time, will her youth return in some ways? I mean, as she's off drugs for a while, will she start to look better?
It's difficult because it will take a long time. I mean, for every day you do drugs, it takes 5 days to clear up the mess you made.
Yeah. So, for instance, like if somebody had a night of drinking the night before, they maybe look puffy or a little bit like red-eyed or sleepy or whatever it might be. But then a couple days later, after not drinking for a few days, you look like yourself again.
Yeah, but it's not like drinking. I mean, if you drink every day, it sort of compounds the problem. So let's say it takes 2 days to recover from drinking. If you drink for 2 days, it takes 4 days to recover from drinking. And if you drink for 3 days, it takes 6 days to recover from drinking. And, it's double the time.
I may never recover.
Well, there's other things you need to recover from.
Well, there is what I don't like about doing this, but there's a lot of death this last week. What else do you have to...
Who else died, Nick?
Yeah, this is like where we come for our obituaries here on the Pants Free Podcast.
We're not done yet. There's 2 more deaths to go, including Roger Ebert.
And we're counting them down.
Yeah, Roger Ebert died. And, after seeing pictures of him, he really looked... It was frightening to see how sick he was.
Well, yeah, it was... the weird thing is I didn't like him until he got cancer. Is that because he was kind of, one of those guys you're like, what do you do? What makes you the critic of all critics? You made a horrible movie that nobody watched, and that was it. And then, but his writing was good, and he expressed himself well. But he always seems like he was very bitter and angry until he got cancer, and then suddenly it was like, I like this guy. Maybe it's you feel bad for him or something like that. But he got cancer of the salivatory glands, or
it's just so sad because I think he was a very happy, jolly guy, and he was a great writer. And he was to Chicago. He did movie reviews in Chicago for years and years and years.
And it was odd. The day before he died, he did an article of leave of presence because the cancer had taken him over. And I thought, well, maybe sometimes these things are further along than people will let you know, and maybe it was already curtains, and he wanted to he knew it was close to time to be, his end, and he just kind of was gracefully bowing out. And I thought,
well, I mean, he fought cancer for 11 years.
Yeah. Well, and it was hard because he relaunched his website and he did a bunch of stuff and he was reviewing movies again, and physically it wasn't really something that you wanted to see on TV. It was hard to look at him because he had lost most of his lower jaw.
Right.
So it was very disturbing to look at, but you felt bad because here is a guy who had a career of doing this, and then when I look back on him, I'm like, I'm glad. I liked his reviews actually, but usually I would go against whatever he said. Like if he said he hated a movie, I'd go, oh, I got to watch that now. But but the thing is like Roger Ebert, Margaret Thatcher, Annette Funicello. I mean, I couldn't tell if I was reading the obituaries or watching Family Guy cutaways.
Yeah.
When news breaks, we're the first there to muck it.
And number one on our death list, Margaret Thatcher.
And she was like 90? I don't remember how old she was.
She's in the late 80s.
And this is your I don't know, what do you call her? Her lordship?
No, she was Dame or Baroness Thatcher, and she died this week, and she was a very important part of what shaped Britain.
She was very conservative, right?
Yeah, she was very right wing, but I think that what she did was she carried Britain through one of its darkest times, and yes,
Nick's birth.
There was a lot of pain and suffering during those times, and she got a lot of people were very unhappy with what she did to them, but at the same time, it was for the good of the country that she believed. I don't think her policies lasted, and I don't think they were that great outside of the period in which she had to hold the country together. But she really did hold the country together through some very dark times. And, the BBC got accused of disrespecting. The coverage of her death was disrespectful, is what the BBC got accused of doing, because they gave too much time to the opponents of Margaret Thatcher to talk about what she did in her lifetime and not enough time to the benefits that she had for the country.
Those disrespectful bastards.
Yes.
Morrissey said that she was worse than The Cure and Duran Duran combined.
Yeah. Well, and who cares about Morrissey or ever did? Not me.
Well, I mean, that's what his whole career has been based on, being bitter, isn't it?
Right. He's just so depressing to me, and there's so little beauty in his life that it saddens me. I've never been a Morrissey fan, never liked his music, never liked his attitude, and just, there's Nick haters out there, and I am definitely not impressed by Morrissey. Just feel that he just sucked the soul out of a whole generation.
Do you think, because a lot of punk rockers dislike Margaret Thatcher because of her, I don't know, she wanted to put an end to punk rock or something like that? Why was she so anti-punk?
Well, no, I don't think that was a mandate of hers. She just felt that it was disrespectful and unhelpful, and that's not necessarily true. I think it was very helpful. It was a outcrying for the country at the time, but it's a very long. The Iron Lady movie really doesn't touch on the truth about what happened in those times, and it was tough, and it was hard, and it was a country in pain. But at the same time, I think the biggest question now is you should honor somebody when they died for the good they did, even if it's very little. I'm celebrating her death. They had parties in London celebrating her death. Celebrating her death is not helpful to man or beast.
Well, all this Margaret Thatcher business makes me hope that Twitter is still around when George W. Bush dies.
Right, and the thing is, celebrating his death.
Do you think Margaret Thatcher, in her wake, what was the worst thing she did?
Well, she broke a lot of communities. Manufacturing shrunk by a fifth when she was prime minister, and she refused to negotiate. And when she came to power, mortgage rates were out of control. I remember mortgage rates that were like 17%, and the miners were all on strike. And she says, "I'm not paying you any more money. Go back to work and work for what you worked for before." Because we can't afford it. And there was power cuts, and they were out on strike for a year, and she broke the strike with the police, and there was garbage piled high in the streets because she refused to pay the garbage people anymore. And at the same time, I get it. She had to do something for the good of the whole, and I think she cleaned the country up. Now, I think what she did is saved us from a tough time, but I don't think that she put the country on a track of prosperity and growth in the long term. I think she did what was necessary in her tenure, but unfortunately, pretty much everybody since her has had to struggle to get Britain back on track.
Well, and also, the hairspray industry alone suffered a loss now.
Yeah, really, she used to go through a bottle of Aquanet a day.
Yeah, in the 80s, the two haircuts everybody got was either the Lady Di or the Margaret Thatcher.
Yeah, and they're both dead.
Hey, way to bring the party down, what is it with you and this death? Nick, at least you're not dead yet, is all I can say.
From the waist up, I am.
Make sure and, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, all that kind of stuff. All the links and the podcast itself can be found at pantsfreepod.com, where you can also find links to Nick's dirty K-holes.
I'm not sure what my dirty K-hole is.
Oh, you know what it is. Don't act coy with me, mister. For Nick J. Miles, I'm Belonius Francine Marconi saying,
I dream of kissing Margaret Thatcher.
Pantalones libero. Pants Free Podcast.